Call to order. Mackenzie, would you please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Carrington?
Here.
Ms. Floyd?
Here.
Mr. Parthmore?
Here.
Mr. Ramsdell?
Here.
Ms. Reedy? Here. Mr. Stanley?
Here.
Mr. Sternberg?
Here.
Ms. Weichel?
Here.
Ms. Newell?
Here.
Mr. Volz?
Here.
All right, with that, we've all received the minutes. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. That was Chris Parthmore.
Second? Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes are approved. We'll move to current business, our work plan for the calendar year 2021. Greg?
Sure. With that, I did want to pull up just a short presentation. Budget update, we did talk to Michelle, our finance director, and I'll move on to the next slide, which shows you we're going to be looking at about a budget of $60,000 for 2021 for the Public Cultural Arts and Acquisition Fund. But that goes into our work plan, and what we at the staff level are proposing, and Eric will speak more to this, is maintaining our grants program, which did not get used this year, but I think are a great way for us to kind of expand our money and have artists come to us with their ideas and we review them. As you all know, we may be able to do some tweaks on them, but then the remaining funds would be used as matching funds for Eric and us at the city to go and secure more funding for a future project. And Eric, I don't know if you want to speak at this time, if that's okay with the chairman.
Of course, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks for doing this and for your continued service on the Arts and Culture Commission. I just wanted to reiterate what Greg said. As most of you know, the funding that we set aside for public art within the city's budget is based on legislation that was passed, which is the good news. It means even during difficult economic times like what we're facing currently, that there are funds that are legislated specifically for the public art program. That being said, it is based on the previous year's collection of admissions taxes. And as most of you know, we're not having a very good year on admissions taxes. We're down a little bit over 80%. And so instead of having 1% of approximately or nearly 5 million, it's looking like it's going to be 1% of somewhere between 800,000 to 1 million, or 8 to 10,000 for next year. That being said, because there has been some patience by the committee to get the public art plan done, and there's carryover from previous year's allocations, it does look like there will be in the ballpark of 50,000 available in carryover, a little bit over 50,000 available in carryover for potential public art projects, as well as what we're budgeting right now is 10,000 in new programs for next year. And one of the things that I had been thinking about with public art and just want to make as a potential suggestion or for dialogue tonight is to potentially take that 50,000 that is available and to see if there is a community partnership available with local stakeholders and or foundations to see if we could get that matched and do sort of a larger statement project. One area that we wanted to talk about, because as many of you know, we're doing a downtown master plan right now, and one of the highlighted projects that is likely to come out of that master planning process is a remake of Columbus Avenue from approximately Washington Row to Shade Mylander Plaza. And so one of the areas, so one, I wanted to check and see there's any interest in kind of leveraging that existing carryover balance of 50,000 to attract attention from partners to see if we can take that and get it matched. And then secondarily, if that is true, or we agree on that, if there's any interest in potentially, doing a larger scale project somewhere in the vicinity or on Columbus Avenue. So when we remake that over the next few years, we can make a big splash in what is a very visible street within the community, and Columbus really serving as a focal point for the entire community, sort of starting at Washington Park and heading all the way down to the bay. So those are just a couple of things that I wanted to bring up today. But again, I think you guys have a work plan. Greg has talked to you about what is possible, and none of that would be in place of the community-based grants that you guys have already discussed. We'd still potentially want to seek out people to come in with their own projects. But again, I just wanted to get your feedback on that. But we were hoping to, maybe get something from a public art component that could take that Columbus Avenue project to the next level. But that's all I really have, and I'm happy to continue the dialogue or answer any questions that folks have about what we're thinking about from at least the perspective of my office within the city.
Thanks, Eric. I think that really clarifies things for me. I was a little concerned, do we go big projects or small projects, or how do we want to look at this? But knowing that there's a larger picture plan coming together, it'd be nice to piggyback off that and do one large, whether it's in some type of interactive installation if the area allows, or some type of large sculptural element that really signifies and makes that downtown Columbus Ave more of a landmark than just a on-street parking. It'd be interesting to explore that further. I'm intrigued. Does anyone else have any questions or comments, either for Eric or Greg?
I think it's a great location to do something impactful. If you want to get people used to seeing public art and valuing it, Columbus Ave is a great place to do that and spread from there, just kind of the way everyone's working towards everything downtown. I definitely like the idea of having a larger, more visible, very impactful project on the horizon.
I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna, really quick, this is more logistical. Mackenzie, I just saw an email come through from Commissioner Harris saying that he's trying to join, there's no link for him to join on whatever he has. I don't know if you're able to forward him the meeting invite.
I'll be able to do that.
I didn't have
Perfect. Okay, sorry, that was all.
either. I had to go through the email that Greg sent.
Same with me.
Is how I ended up getting on.
Yeah, me too. I just went through the email Greg had sent.
For just piggybacking on the comments we've heard so far, a project on Columbus Avenue does strike a lot of notes mentioned in the Sandusky Public Art and Placemaking Plan that was adopted a couple years ago. It could, depending on the type of project, it could touch a few different items called out for in that plan. So it does match well with that, and also it should match well with a potential upcoming downtown master plan.
I have a question. We had talked, this was many months ago. We had talked about like matching with Firelands because they were wanting to do sculptures on Hayes Avenue. Have we heard anything about that and what's going on with that? And because we agreed that we would do that with Firelands Hospital. So is that still in effect?
I'd like to chip into Robin's comment too. I think we talked about initially with our plan something with the Hayes Ave underpass as well, just to play devil's advocate. I don't think the Columbus Ave idea is bad, but I think that with what Robin's saying, that might play into that Hayes Ave corridor too, with the Firelands partnership and the underpass lighting. I know it's just out there for discussion.
I threw the chair to Robin and to, I believe that was Brian.
That was Jordan.
Who was it?
Jordan.
Oh, sorry, Jordan. I didn't see you. The challenge we have with the Firelands underpass, as far as I know, is the lighting project we proposed. The committee was interested in seeing
an artist work specifically on that project, or at least for public art funds. And the challenge that we faced is that to add an artist to that lighting project was going to make it significantly much more expensive than we had in the budget at that time. We certainly, and I've had a little bit of dialogue with Jeremy at Fireland Sense, we could look for other revenue sources specifically for the Hayes Avenue corridor. And I'm not opposed at all to the Hayes Avenue corridor. I feel like it is not nearly as pedestrian oriented as the few blocks of Columbus Avenue, and people tend to interact with public art very differently while driving by in a car than they do when they're on foot within kind of an environment with a lot of active storefronts, et cetera. So from my personal perspective, when we redo Hayes Avenue, which I believe is scheduled for 2022 or 2023 with state dollars, we could look towards having artistic elements as part of that project, and I'd be very open to it. But as far as taking a larger project to make kind of a big visual impact, I would personally think it would make the biggest impact in a place where we consistently have a lot of community members that have the ability to interact with that, both on foot as well as in a vehicle. But again, that's my own personal opinion, and you guys are on this for your own opinion, so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, for the sake of discussion, I'd agree with Chris. I think that, if you're going to do it for your first big ticket item, I think maybe that's between Washington Row and Mylander are pretty significant, both driving and walking places. I was just putting up for the sake of argument of, do we need to focus on the big picture, or what's like the next big thing in our master plan, or the Sandusky plan?
And I'm very bullish, just through the chair, sorry, I apologize, Brian. I'm very bullish on Hayes Avenue and amenities, artistic and otherwise, for Hayes. I do wonder if that might be just because of the long linear nature of Hayes, a project where we try to incorporate like streetscaping elements and maybe non-artist driven improvements with other funds. And then when we want to work directly with an artist, do that I just worry that you're not going to get as much bang for your buck on something that's so linear. And we could do, again, if I remember correctly, there was a distinction that the committee wanted to make between something that is artistic in nature versus something that is created by an artist. And I think we can do some very artistic things in that Hayes Avenue corridor within that budget that don't impact your budget, and then save those dollars for projects, whether they're small scale organic projects in neighborhoods, et cetera, large scale projects elsewhere where there may be more ability to make a larger impact in a concentrated place.
And
Hey,
Mr. Chairman,
Brian again.
I am
Go ahead.
all for a larger project coming down to the Columbus Avenue area, everything, because this is a tourist destination down here, and I would like to see something that is larger scale down here, even versus Hayes Avenue. To kick off, I'd love to see art everywhere, period. But I would like to see something that people want to take their pictures with and get out there and really put maybe something that's going to make a statement. Chicago has a giant bean sitting there that they paid a crazy amount of money for. Hopefully one day we have our own equivalent small town little something that people are wanting to take pictures with. So
I agree.
Yep. And I did want to throw in, Mr. Chairman, if it's all right.
Yeah.
I just pulled up our work plan for this year. It does, our sources for the Hayes Avenue project were listed out as a quite an abundant list of potential sources. So, and I think that tying that along with the Hayes Avenue reconstruction would also play well, rather than sourcing a piece of artwork now and then having to move it when we reconstruct to a potential different place. So I think these two projects can coexist at different times with our current financial situation.
Yeah, Greg, that's where I was going to go. I was going to ask what the timing was for the Columbus Avenue area. I know we talked, or Eric talked about Hayes Ave being 2022, 2023. It seems like, if the Columbus Avenue corridor is sooner, seems like we could be able to budget for both projects.
Correct, yeah.
So through the
Chair, to the committee, Columbus Avenue, we should have conceptual renderings done late this year or early next year when we want to launch that plan. Now that doesn't include the art component, but it would include the sort of the base in which we could look at where the artistic elements would be most impactful, and that could be purely in the public realm. It could be at intersections. It could, it could be any variety of things that you do, and certainly we could leave the committee to come up with kind of a broad call for artists to say these are the types of things we're looking for, and you could come in and provide your ideas for that. But the advantage for Columbus Avenue is that we have several TIF or tax increment financing projects downtown, including the City Hall project that we're living in, as well as the future Cook Building, Fike Building, et cetera. And so a portion of those proceeds can go towards the reconstruction of Columbus, which shouldn't be nearly as substantial as the Shoreline Drive project was, because it looks like the utilities are in much better shape on Columbus. And so it's not going to be as big of a budget to make on the surface what will be just as impactful of improvements to that street. And so my guess is you'd be looking at, on an aggressive schedule, design in 21, construction in 22. So probably a little bit ahead of Hayes Avenue, which I believe is scheduled to do construction, because ODOT schedules on a fiscal year. It'd probably be the second half of 23 when that would actually begin construction. We'd probably be somewhere between 6 to 18 months ahead of that on this project, depending on how aggressive we could be with those tax increment financing dollars for the street.
So while this project could be in our work plan for 21, we would really just be soliciting some type of RFQ and or reaching out to other artists, as well as maybe working with the master plan folks to try to establish a position or a location for that could be ideal for the artwork. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was my thought, Brian, is that because we'd be going to do design for the street at the same time that we'd be soliciting an artist, is that you could really have that be an integrated approach to making sure that the street is designed to accommodate art, and that you're not designing a street and then once you've done that, asking an artist to figure out how art can fit into that. There could be some unique timing to have the artist have some involvement in that design process, so that if we needed a big, larger bumped out intersection or something along those lines, based on what you guys end up wanting to do, you'd be able to design that into the project up front.
I agree with you fully. That is exactly how we need to do it.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions for Greg or Eric at this time?
Brian, real quick, I just still want to bring up one more thing for discussion purposes, and that it's from Cable's email earlier, just about small scale things that we could maybe do, like a photo competition or something along those lines that are low cost, and we could put them in the lobby of City Hall or something. So those are other things that we could definitely continue to do. Likely we wouldn't be able to put money towards a winner or anything, but I think we would still get a good response from folks. So if people want me to keep that in the work plan for next year, and hopefully we could keep those type of projects moving forward and keep the arts at the in City Hall, that would be great.
Right. I think it's very important for us as we're moving forward with this year to be very careful with spending money on art. A lot of the citizens here, they don't understand like where the money comes from and how it works and everything. And then we're in the middle of a pandemic, and the last thing that I want is people lashing out on the city. And Lord, our city manager goes through enough as it is right now. So I mean, he's on the chopping block all the time. I don't want us throwing money out during a pandemic and the people here in the city looking at that as us just being irresponsible. So I think that, as far as this year's plans and stuff are looking for next year, I think that we just take it easy for a little while. That's my personal opinion.
And I think, to Robin's point, through the chair to Robin, I think that integrating this into Columbus allows us to get it both ways. One is we can start on an ambitious project now, but it's one that won't go into construction likely till late 2022 when we're out of the pandemic, hopefully. I think that so it's kind of the best of both worlds. We can take an ambitious approach. I also think it's a project that we can explain to the public too, with our ability to raise outside dollars that go along with that. I think I would love to more and more have this commission's public art projects have a component that is supported by our foundation partners or local businesses, et cetera, because I think it helps stretch those public dollars further, and just as importantly, demonstrates the impact that public art has beyond just tax dollars, but everyone else investing in that makes it easier for us to justify those investments. And it gives us a little bit of time to figure all of that out.
Agreed.
I agree.
On the topic of maintaining during the pandemic for relevancy's sake and probably low cost, are there other ways that we can connect maybe virtually in the new year through like a virtual gallery, like a Sandusky Strong type thing? Or I don't know if that's something we can try or what.
Mr. Chairman, I could answer that. I'm actually working with Eric and others.
Jordan answered it, sorry. I should have clarified it.
George, sorry. On another idea that we've discussed to have virtual neighborhood type meetings. And we're working through that. And maybe we could probably figure out that process and work backwards into something art specific. So I can definitely explore that, and we'll just have to figure out how best to get that working. But I'll get working on that for sure.
Great, look forward to that.
The Greater Port Clinton Arts Council has like a virtual gallery, and people post stuff on it all the time. So it's something that maybe Sandusky, like what you're talking about, could do. And it's open to anyone, really.
Yeah, I wonder if it's like a gallery subscription type thing, like it's tied to the city's web domain or something that anybody can visit, or it's shared through the city's platform, essentially, like that.
That would be that'd be cool. We do have a public arts and culture section on our website, so I could see the options there. And Mr. Horseman is fluent in website design, so he should be able to help as well.
Excellent.
I have two comments.
Go ahead.
This is Michelle. We have a gallery, a student gallery at Adams, the RCAS building, that we're always looking for artists to come in, talk to the kids, show their work. I just wanted to get that out there. And we have 2 new employees with Sandusky, a music teacher and an art teacher. And because of COVID, they're trying to get out and kind of learn about the area. It would be kind of nice if we had maybe like something on a website, like a little COVID package where they can, since they can't go out, maybe they can check, what restaurants are in town, where everything is. The art teacher went around and tried to find all of the sculptures. Just something for people to kind of, that are new to the area, to think about, so that when hopefully we can get out pretty soon, they'll know where they're going and what's out there.
The gallery at Adams is really awesome, by the way. The students did a great job on it.
Michelle, do you mind sending me some, like a blurb about that, and maybe if it's okay with we'd have to talk about it internally, but maybe we could put a link on our arts and culture website just about the program that's happening at the Sandusky City Schools.
Okay, sure, I will.
And I did have something shared on my Facebook page that I shared publicly too when they first opened it. So
Yeah, right now they're getting ready for their second show. I do know that. It's going to be virtual, but but yes, I will get something out to you.
Thank you.
So Greg, today are we looking for, are we going to talk, do we want to talk dollars, or we just want to get together? I should say, should we just talk about the plan of having kind of a one big project and maybe keep the grant programs going, or do we have to specify dollars today?
We don't need to specify dollars, but I may not, I'll talk to Eric after this, but we may keep it pretty open-ended this year. So there's flexibility. And if the commission is comfortable with us just focusing on those two with some free other projects, I'll try to get that into a document for next month's meeting.
Great. So as long as we have a general direction, it sounds like we're free to move. Does anybody else have any comments about the work plan for this year? Seems like there's a fair amount of buy-in for the single large project. Does anybody have anything else?
With the plans for the Columbus, sorry.
Go ahead.
With the plans for the Columbus Ave renovation project, the initial that are kind of supposed to be out by the end of the year, is that for public consumption at that point? Is that something that we could share with potential artists, or is that something that's going to be worked through the calendar year? I guess at what point would it be okay to share that with the potential artists or even the public?
We, whatever will be adopted this time will be probably highly conceptual, but we'll, it all depends on the process we take going forward. If we do just a normal call for artists or a competition for an artist, I'll probably, once the plan is adopted, I'll draft some different options for you all to look at. And we would likely include some sort of conceptual design in the call for artists. That way the artists would know what they're working with when they submit their proposal. But there will be a couple different options that we'll have to decide upon when we get to that point.
Great. Any other questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion to move forward.
motion.
Second.
So we have a motion to move forward with the work plan utilizing the Columbus Ave. We can call it a landmark project, as well as moving forward with our grant programs in the calendar year 2021. I believe I heard that correctly.
Yes.
Yes.
If so, great. Mackenzie, would you please read the roll, please?
Ms. Carrington?
Yes.
Ms. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Parkmore?
He's muted.
I think Chris is still on. Chris, you're on mute.
Yes.
Mr. Ramsdell?
Yes.
Mr. Stanley?
Yes.
Mr. Sternberg?
Yes.
Ms. Weichel?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Ms. Newell?
Yes.
Mr. Volz?
Yes.
Great. That motion passes. Looks like we'll be in for a exciting 2021. Looking forward to 2022. With that, we can move to old business. Does anyone have any old business?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just one thing. I hope some of you noticed the sculpture that was at the end, northern end of the pier at Chesapeake did have to get moved towards Shoreline Drive. It was not holding up to the winds out there, so we moved it to the south of the Chesapeake Loft Building, to the southeast corner. Sadly, I didn't have enough time to contact all of you to let you know of that, but I hope that's okay. It fell over twice, and they were fearful that it would keep happening if we kept it out there.
My only
Yeah,
thing
thanks,
is
Greg.
that-
That's the last thing we needed.
Sorry.
Go ahead,
Go ahead.
Marcia.
It just seems to blend in with the building a bit. That's the only problem. But
I haven't noticed the sculpture down there yet.
well, and Greg, you know, I have some feelings about the sculptures, and we could share that at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, we're happy Lang Trust decided to renew it for sure, though. It was and some of them are really cool.
It's definitely a great program.
Yeah, it's a great program. I think that going forward in the future, though, even though the pictures can be deceiving, even though they tell you what the size is. And I think that some of the sculptures, even though I was on the committee to help choose, they're really awesome sculptures, but they just get completely lost because they're just too small. And so the ones that really are tall or wide, or there's expanse to it, I think really stand out. And I think that's something we should keep in mind in the future, that even if we love something that's small, it might just be bypassed because of the size of it. So that, like that fish hook, the fish phones, I mean, that it looks so tiny where it is. You know, and even that the surveyor, I loved that sculpture, but it really gets pretty lost. But one of the ones that I think is really impressive is the one by the library.
Yes, I agree.
And that's even a concept that could be fun on Columbus, is something that moves down the street in some way, you know, a series like that could be really cool.
I have a question. Lang Trust came to us to see if we would approve the suspension sculptures. Have we heard any word on what's going on with the suspension sculptures through Lang Trust?
Yeah, thanks, Robin. That was going to be my next topic. I did speak to them, and they do intend to still come back for final approval, but it's kind of in standstill with the coronavirus pandemic. The artist in Europe is not able to travel at all, so it's hard to fully get detailed information from them because they need to be here and see the environment before they decide what goes where. So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now, but the Lang Trust does intend to still move forward with that at some time.
Great, thanks, Greg. If there's no more old business, we can move to new business. Any new business? All right. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second. Well, I motion.
I'll move.
I'll
There you
second.
go.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
I